we'll move on to.
I've just never read the books. I feel left out.
You don't have to read the books. I've not read the books.
For that matter, you probably never read a book. Okay, you troglodyte.
Welcome to the Beacon House Podcast, recorded live in Knoxville, Tennessee.
And that's when I learned my lesson that you don't pick up foreign objects off the toilet floor.
Okay. And on that note, welcome to the Beacon House Podcast.
My name's Hunter.
My name's Casey.
I don't even know what my name is anymore. That bathroom comment. Oh, I'm Spence, by the way, but that I don't even know.
Before we get started on anything else, I have got news for you. Because Spencer McCoy...
He's pointing at Spencer.
Yes. Thank you. I was like, no, I know what's coming.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's a visual podcast. Go. Never mind.
It's not a visual... You anyways...
There's already a lot of hard feelings.
There's a movie coming out called The Meg. And it is absolutely about the Megalodon. And it is a sci-fi horror movie with Jason Statham, Rainn Wilson, Ruby Rose, and the dude from Longmire. I cannot remember his... Robert Taylor. That's it.
You know why that movie can go off into the ocean and just drown somewhere?
It's going to be great.
Because it is a now, as advertised at least, and hopefully it'll be something else, but a B-grade, just shark action movie, which I am all about. I'm not trying to shit on that, but I read the first book. I've read all of the books except the last one, and while they have all of that B-movie shark action stuff going on, super smart stories and characters and intricate like thriller plot stuff, and I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, here's the thing. I know about the Meg movie because it's based on that series of books, which is one of my favorites of all time, the Meg series, written by Steve Alton, who is a super human sci-fi author, basically, but he's also got a heavy background in like marine biology and paleontology and stuff like that. He's also written some crazy books about like the end of the world and just all kinds of cool stuff. Vostok is incredible.
I haven't read that one.
It's the sequel to The Lock.
I need to read more.
And it's also crossed over with the fifth Meg book, which I just finished both of those. Vostok, the main character. Okay, did you ever read The Lock?
I didn't read The Lock.
Here's a big Easter egg for all of our listeners out there. The music that you hear at the beginning of our podcast, the little happy sounding podcast intro and outro music, is actually a song I wrote years ago with the help from a couple of friends called Edward's Deep, and it's based on probably the most likely theory of what the Loch Ness Monster really is. And I 100% borrowed that theory from Steve Alton, the author of Meg, when he wrote the book The Loch, theorizing what actually is the Loch Ness Monster. And I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, but if you want to go read about it, he basically solved the mystery of Loch Ness. And I wrote a song about it. So there, have that. But anyway, it's the guy that wrote Meg, and it looks very exciting. And yes, the movie's been in like pre-production for like 6 years. And they just can't get anybody to take the reins and make it. And I, like you, am terrified that it's going to suck. Because the Megalodon is my favorite thing basically fucking ever.
Yeah, but Jason Statham's in it.
I'm here for the shark, bro. Jason Statham can suck it.
All I'm saying is, I mean,
I have a Megalodon tooth that's more exciting than Jason Statham.
I might be biased, but name a movie that he's done that's just bombed completely.
Hold up. Do we mean bombed in quality or bombed at the box office?
No, in quality. Because there's a lot of movies that I've seen that bombed in the box office, and then you watch it and you're like, it's an action movie. That's exactly what I wanted, and this is what I got.
Jason Statham is a perfect mix of action star, I'd say. He does have charm. He doesn't work off of it like The Rock does, so he's not like on that level. He's not Arnie or anything. But he's always entertaining. I'll give him that. And therefore, I'm never bored watching anything he's in. I'm excited for the movie because I think it'll be fun as hell.
But I think somewhere that's going to... It's
gonna miss...
It's going to suck shit at some point. I'm so terrified. I'm so terrified. The Megalodon story is super, super... precious to me, and those books specifically, following the Tanaka Institute and Jonas Taylor, and now his son David Taylor. You know, like now 5 books in, Jonas is old, and his son David Taylor is this hotshot pilot that's like now after spoilers, after the 3rd or 4th book that they went down Night Terrors, when they went down and they brought
Nightmare
all the
Asylum,
crazy shit up. Like now they've got a Leopleurodon, which is biting the Megs in half, and David has to like get it to follow him back to Vostok. And now that book is coming into play, and it's this crazy thing. Just read them all; it's nuts.
Does the cover to Vostok kind of give away what the secret for the lock is? Because I've seen the cover of Vostok has
The cover of the Vostok has a giant alligator.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things they find. Oh, I'm sorry, everybody. Apparently, we're putting Casey to sleep, so we'll move on to.
I've just never read the books. I feel left out.
You don't have to read the books. I've not read the books.
For that
I've
matter,
read
you probably never read a book, okay? You troglodyte.
God. No, I don't.
I've read the Meg books.
I've read books.
Not the
They're just not my favorite.
the Berenstain Bears is something you have to leave behind
God.
at some point.
You know, I'm really upset
Are
right
we
now.
going to do the Mandela talk now? Is that coming?
Yeah.
Because, no, because the flat earthers and the Tide Pod eaters have taken up the Mandela effect, which I hold true as one of the most interesting things. It's not really that interesting, and I really don't believe it.
You can see us about the pounds. Really? Is that it? That's a lot for you? Your shopping list must be interesting.
I love talking about it because it's a fascinating thing that so many things fall under a coincidence. Like, Sinbad being in a movie called Shazam, and it ended up being actually, it ended up being Shaq, and he was Kazam. Mm-hmm. You have the Berenstain Bears. You have Nelson Mandela, whether he died in prison or whether he became an advocate.
There's a recent X-Files episode that dealt with this.
And I think that's what brought
in a
it up.
brilliant way.
I keep forgetting
They make
that
fun
it's
of it.
back.
They kind of make fun of it, but in like such a charming way. And they even go deeper to explain. Did you see it?
I loved
it. Are you keeping up with the new season? We need to go.
Where can you watch it? Because I need
You
to
can watch it on their
Hulu.
website.
Or on Hulu.
Or Hulu.
Hell yes.
Dude,
Okay.
get into it. It's really good.
I loved the last season.
It's so good.
That they did like a year
Man,
ago.
it's pretty good. But they talk about the Mandela effect. What do you think? You think it's real? What do you got?
I don't think it's real. Although a lot of people listening to
That
this right
Berenstain
now,
Bears thing is, a lot of them I go, I never really thought that. I never really remembered that. But the Berenstain Bears thing, I 1,000% remember it differently than you find it now.
well, the one that got me, Berenstain Bears was one of them. But then some people have proven that they just were published differently back in the day. Like some people have books that still say Stein instead of Stain.
They do, so you can Google that.
I believe so.
That's
I've been
supposed to
sent
be
pictures.
That's supposed to be like the qualifier. If somebody goes, I don't remember this from my childhood, somebody's supposed to go, here, let's Google it and let's find out.
The one that struck weird with me was the Mickey Mouse one, where everyone remembers Mickey Mouse wearing overalls. He has never worn overalls. I always pictured him with like red overalls on, and it's never any of his
just has
cartoons.
some red shorts.
He just has red shorts with big buttons.
Does he have
on
a
it.
shirt on at all?
No, I don't think so.
He's had red.
He's never worn overalls. He never had straps. Even because people were like, "What about Steamboat Mickey?" which was the first one that Walt Disney did, and I looked it up. No overalls. He's just wearing shorts and the sailor's hat or the train hat.
See, I sort of can buy that.
And so it's things like that that's very weird.
I remember him being like black from the top up,
But it's also one of those things where I'm like, I was a kid. I saw things differently. It's coincidence. It's easily
the world looked
dismissed.
like a kind place.
It's easily dismissed. I just think it's a really fun thing to talk about.
Well, it's not fun, Casey.
God.
Oh, God.
Hunter's trying too hard to be the blurb at the beginning.
Oh, man. Oh, yeah, I see. You're trying to stake out your claim to the beginning of the episode there.
Any chance-
Spencer's turn this time.
I don't know if I'm going to get... I don't know.
Now, but going back talking about movies that we're worried about.
No, you put to sleep. No.
I have a movie that I think we'd all be interested in seeing, which is the movie about Ted Bundy. I hate you.
Ted Bundy.
There's a movie coming out that's like a biopic about Ted Bundy. Zac Efron is playing
That's
Ted
my friend
Bundy.
Dahmer, I thought.
No, My Friend Dahmer was done by the other Disney guy.
That one was supposed to be... I never saw it. My friend Dahmer was supposed to be incredible.
Here's my problem with it. Zac Efron's playing Ted Bundy, which, looking at the pictures, he fits the role. Like somebody who's very debonair, very lady, charming, lady
A gorgeous
killer.
man?
Yes. Nails it. It's being directed by the guy who directed Blair Witch 2.
Book of Shadows?
Yeah, Book of Shadows.
Which was
And I
my...
The one that we love?
I like it.
The one that we love that you hate.
Ugh. It's such a turd of a movie. I hate it so much, and I can't imagine that
Why
this guy's
do you
gonna
hate
do
it?
justice to a serial killer biopic.
Also,
Why do you hate Book of Shadows?
why aren't you commenting on the fact that I farted?
because I'm trying
just
to
gonna leave it
gloss
there.
over that.
All right, okay.
Can we please talk about Book of
I'll
Shadows for
try
a
harder
minute?
next time.
Go
Don't
ahead.
need to kidnap that. No, not like Spencer and I talk about why we love it. I want to know why you hate it. Everyone else hates it.
It's just
but
a cheesy attempt at being I Know What You Did Last Summer or Scream. It was it's one of those cheesy teen slashers that just it's not Jason, it's not Freddy, it's not Michael Myers. Those still hold true. It's just some poor attempt at making money off something that did well the first time around.
I would argue that you should give it a second pass, and you should
I will
look
give it a
at
second
it from.
pass. No thanks. I'll put this back in the bin.
You should look at it from the perspective of
The shitty
a
director.
a film that is trying to do something very different with an established lore, and on that level, I love it and to
see,
pieces. The thing is,
Adam Wingard did it justice
No, he did
with
the
a
one-
sequel,
yeah,
a true sequel.
that one I favor over Book of Shadows. Book of Shadows is not my favorite, but I love Book of Shadows. Even if you don't like Book of Shadows as is, which again I do, you can find stuff like on YouTube where people like compare contrast the director cut versus what actually came out. And as much as I think it works,
Spencer's trying real
I
hard to
did
fart
nothing.
again.
No, I'm not.
You're trying real
I'm
hard
not.
to fart again
But don't
to cut you off.
Don't you dare! Don't you dare pretend
not
to
just see
understand
you lean?
the transgression of my manners.
You
I'm
just-
just listening to you guys talk
You
about
did
Book of
the
Shadows.
he's giving it a second
What a
gas.
A guy can't just lean. All right, listen.
Not squinting like you did, trying to push
I gotta
one out.
listen. I this is rare, but I want to actually agree with both of you. Yeah, you two dicks.
Oh shit!
Really?
Here's the thing. Listen, okay. I watched Book of Shadows accidentally. I thought, and
It's
forgive
usually
me,
how most people watch.
it scared the piss out of me. And a lot of movies don't do that. And I don't know what it is. And I've heard other people, it wasn't you guys. Other people have said they found this. There was something about that movie to me that was so inherently evil. Just something about it that's real dark. And I know it was fiction, and it was admittedly fiction when they put it out. They weren't trying to pretend like, hey, we found some footage. It was like, hey, this is just a dick and fart joke movie, But there was something really creepy about it, I think. And I think that, and it may be accidentally, but accidentally, I think it succeeded where 90% of horror movies fail at being really, really like getting you on a level. And maybe it was just me. Maybe it was something that resonated with me.
No, that movie, that's actually one of the things that sticks with me. It doesn't, I wouldn't describe it as having scared me the way that you just did, but one thing about it that really surprised me the first time I saw it is when it was over, I felt gross and creeped out. And nothing about what I actually saw I feel like should have done that, but it's been a couple years since I watched it, but if I remember, it starts in a certain way, and it never betrays what it is. Like, again, just being a cash grab movie and the director trying to do something special with that. But it starts one way, and then about the halfway point, it doesn't even turn, but just everything kind of like it's skewed just slightly, almost. And from there on, it just feels wrong the whole time.
And I agree with what you said. Nothing about it should have been that creepy, but nonetheless, when it was over, I felt disturbed.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe everybody else didn't. But that was one movie where I actually think I had trouble sleeping, which is weird.
Maybe it did what the original Exorcist did, which was add in little like clips that were so fast that the film would blurb it to you, like flash it to you, but you wouldn't realize that you saw it of like death and gore and blood to give you more of an unsettling feeling.
Maybe.
And kind of what Paranormal Activity did, where they actually put in a frequency every time it went night, and you can actually hear it if you go back and watch the Paranormal Activity movies. Yeah. It hits night, and all of a sudden you hear this low frequency, and this frequency is supposed to make you feel incredibly uncomfortable and uneasy, and just like your skin's moving.
It's the hum that's barely there.
The brown note, that note that makes you poop your pants.
No, I don't think it's that one.
That was on MythBusters, by the way. It didn't work.
He wore diapers to make sure.
I don't know. But real quick, speaking of, and I want to I'll shift lanes here real quick. Speaking of horror movies and visuals of people dying or iconic horror scenes, I got to tell you guys real quick, and I'm going to please rein me in if I get off the rails on this. I won't tell you guys what I saw this weekend in Chattanooga. Okay, I saw one of the best fucking shows I've ever seen in my whole life. On the terms of like small scale, like about a 200 person. Like, that wasn't even a club. They've opened this guitar museum in Chattanooga called Songbirds Guitar Museum, but it's basically where the train station is and everything's there. And about 2 years ago, I saw one of my heroes as this really, really extremely esoteric guitarist called Buckethead. And he's been one of my favorites forever. And if you don't know about him, just somebody take an hour and go spend on YouTube watching Buckethead. It's incredible. But it's kind of creepy, and it's got sort of like a weird theme parky horror aspect to it, but it's this insane progressive guitar, and it's really, really fun. And there's another guy called John Five. John Five has had jobs in bands with people like Rob Zombie, Marilyn Manson, even David Lee Roth, and he's played with a ton of other people too. And he's got a solo career, and it's kind of this like Halloweenish horror type guitar show, and I really didn't know what to expect. We went down there to see it. And man, I was absolutely blown the hell away. The guy was all in weird outfits and costumes, like he paints his face up, but he came out with like a mask on that where he almost looked like a I don't know, like anime or something like that. And he played with that on for like 2 songs, and he was wearing all these crazy outfits, and like he just does all this insane stuff. There were people coming up on stage in masks. There were like giant inflated like pumpkins of like the Grim Reaper, but it didn't look. It looked. I don't know. It looked like a kind of lighthearted, and it was great.
Yeah. That sounds like a very weird show to have in February. It feels like they should have like sat on that until
it was sort of Halloween. It was very Nightmare Before Christmas. And he's doing this insane tour, and I actually got us a poster, but it's not in here yet. I'll get it. But the tour dates, these guys are touring with no days off. Like it's like back to back to back to back to back to back to back. Like they're driving from Lexington, Kentucky to Atlanta to Chattanooga, and they're not getting any time off. It's relentless, and it's just him, a bass player, and a drummer, and then like one guitar tech that's also the guy who dresses up and comes up on stage with like the clown mask and throws stuff to the audience. And what was really cool is right behind him, the guitar cabinets, which nobody can see this. We've got a couple in this room. But the front of the guitar cabinets were screens, and they just showed horror movies the whole time.
Oh, wow.
Horror movies are old sci-fi movies, and they were just like random cuts going in and out. It had a lot of scenes from Psycho, a lot of scenes from Clockwork Orange, a lot of scenes from Godzilla, and just other Texas Chainsaw Massacre all over. But meanwhile, it's this crazy music going on. There's no singing through the whole show. And there was a big screen behind the drummer also showing these images and stuff. It was so much fun. I am fully endorsing John Five. If you guys get a chance to read about him, see him, he's on a podcast, interviewed all the time, like the No Guitar is Safe podcast. There's a great. Please go check this guy out. Support him. He really does stuff that you don't have to do. And I just kind of wanted to throw that endorsement out there.
That sounds awesome. Like I kind of bummed out I didn't go see it.
Yeah,
like people that aren't into guitar were there having a freaking blast, just going crazy at this bizarre show that was going. It was.
I was
awesome.
upset the second he said John Five. I love John Five.
John, if you're out there listening to this, we love you and we want to interview you. And I actually tweeted about it when I got home, and he retweeted it.
Nice.
Yeah, and I've been getting notifications for like 2 days.
Dude, sweet. Yeah. So now you'll tweet about having him on the Beacon House podcast.
I'm gonna let him know.
Yeah,
John, we're coming for you. but you'll win because you're the scary one.
in a very safe way.
That's right.
I wanted
In
to
a very
bring up-
G-rated way. That sounded terrible. John, you have no idea what it's like down here in Knoxville. Oh, it's messy. It's messy.
I don't want to veer away from that and go completely opposite direction.
Yes, you do.
But yes, I do.
I can tell by your face.
You guys watch Last Week Tonight at all?
What?
Last Week Tonight with John Oliver on HBO?
Oh, I've seen it a time or two.
No.
So last year in, I believe, June, he did a segment on coal, and he brought up a gentleman named Mr. Robert Murray, who is a CEO of a coal company, and said a lot of mean things in a satirical way. Like he talked to a squirrel named Mr. Nutter Butter, and it told him to do all these evil things. And there's a whole thing. And
sounds amazing.
And he also talks about how a lot of judges and government officials have said that Mr. Murray has done a lot of bad things, and he brings that up. Well, Mr. Murray got wind of it, got upset, and sued HBO and John Oliver for defamation. And I believe, I want to say 2 days ago, they dismissed it, and the court was like, no, there's no defamation here. Everything he does was either satire or just repeating what government or government officials or judges have said in the past, and completely negated it. And then John Oliver this past Sunday brought Mr. Nutter Butter back.
Oh, man.
Because
Just drove it home.
He had a big stuffed squirrel that come out, and it was great. I'm really happy to see that John Oliver didn't get hit with that because
what was the website that Hulk Hogan sued? There's a Netflix movie.
Gawker.
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
Unlike that
Yeah.
bizarre mess, which went completely the opposite direction.
They're gone. Gawker's no more, I don't think.
He wore them out.
I mean, if they
In
are,
Pinellas
they're-
County, Florida, right there where I like to go to the beach.
I kind of sided with Hogan on that one though.
Well, it wasn't kind of the same principle as these friggin' stupid red light cameras where
Yeah.
you're being somewhere in the law you're being photographed without your permission, and that right there kind of negates their right.
How likely do you think it is that we could get Glenn on here?
Mr. Glenn Jacobs.
Yeah, he is a super duper busy man, but he's also a very approachable and kind man, and he's trying
And
really
he's
hard.
very locally active about.
Yeah,
a
he's
lot
doing
of
the
stuff.
grassroots thing.
Yeah, he was
big
at
time.
he was at Jackie's Dream Chicken out in East Knoxville.
Yeah, he did Shoney's last week.
Yeah,
like,
he's
out by
great.
Western
You know
Avenue.
what? I'm working on it. We're working on getting him there. Hey, you know what? You know what?
I'm going
Hell,
to tweet him again. That picture, like
tweet
with the
that
drawing.
guy. Let him know. Hey, if anybody's listening to this, you guys reach out to Glenn Jacobs and let him know that we are dying to have him on the Beacon House podcast. We really want not to just ask him questions and bounce ideas off him, but we want to really give him a platform to speak to our audience, which I believe maybe I'm just going to go out on a leg here and say maybe our current audience is not the most politically motivated bunch. And for good reason.
I would
which
agree
We'll
with
get
that.
into that later because that's exactly how people want them to feel. But there is a better way, and I feel like Glenn is probably a good.
I think he is
He would be the ideal person to convince somebody that just thinks politics is stupid or boring, or the
Yeah.
worst thing of all, that it doesn't affect you.
If we got him on here, we'd have to be on our best behavior.
Oh yeah.
He's a sharp cat.
Yeah.
He's a sharp cat. I think we could do it. I think we could dial it up.
Disclaimer being he.
Like I won't fart if he comes. in.
And I'll not talk.
That's not true. You're going to say some shit. You'll
He
say
was-
some shit.
despite like the favoritism that I show him just for being Kane, because that's where I fell in love with him. Having met him a number of times over the years and like just very short bursts, nothing ever in depth, you always felt special leaving. So he's had that long before even trying to run for office.
Absolutely.
And then when I found out he was running, I couldn't believe it. So the celebrity fan part was like, oh my God, Kane for mayor. But then I also want to be a smart voter. So I start doing research. I would still like to do more research, but everything I've found thus far, I've really liked.
Yeah.
Like he seems to have his head on straight. Anything he says about anything regarding the Republican Party, where it is and where it used to be and what it could be that would actually make it work and not be like the mess it is at the
And what
moment.
it's supposed to stand for versus what everybody thinks
Actually,
it stands
yeah.
for. And, you know.
He's very, very smart.
Like for instance,
And-
the Republican Party was originally the anti-war party,
yeah.
and it's not like that anymore.
Oh, no.
Or at least it's not portrayed to be like that anymore. So there's a lot of misconceptions about both parties. But again, I think it's worth mentioning that Glenn Jacobs is a libertarian,
Right. Yes. Yes.
and a lot of times libertarians hide in the Republican weeds because they're more on the conservative side of things. But they're very, very liberal about a lot of stuff too. And to me, it's just the best of both worlds. And, we can get it again. Vote and think how you want, but he's a great guy. And I'd
His
love to have him
political
on here.
journey would be fascinating. He talked about being a socialist right after
I was
high
never
school,
I
and
was
then
never a big wrestling fan. I mean, I acknowledge the wrestling and that kind of thing, and I think it's fun when we see Hulk Hogan at the beach if we go to
Yeah.
Clearwater. But like, my attraction to Glenn Jacobs was his political affiliation for like the truth. And I remember I got to go see Dr. Ron Paul speak when he came to Knoxville, and that's where I met Glenn Jacobs.
Right.
He was there too in a suit. He had long hair at the time; it was pulled back, and he was like attentive, and it was cool, man. And everybody was kind of there for like a good reason. And again, not trying to influence anybody out there, but you know, if you take anything away from this, please, if you're thinking about voting, which you should, look for the truth.
and then vote.
Yeah, and try not to please don't vote tribally. God, I see so much of that crap these days.
Yeah, no, that's
Makes me, so much stuff is so tribal. Like the social media and the internet has made things very tribal. Don't you guys think?
Yes,
people
I would
gang
agree.
up and they become the angry mob, running down the street with torches, and it doesn't matter which side you're on. It generates a ton of ignorance on both sides, and like that's I would never tell anybody how you should vote, but we should be able to have a conversation.
You either have to be at the front line of a warring party, or you have to be in the back of a field of people that have stuck their head in the sand with however these conflicts go. And the truth does not always fall in the middle. It generally does, I find. But even if it doesn't, like what you were saying about seek the truth, that is so vital. And encouraging people, especially younger, because a lot of the people that I know either have zero desire to do anything politically because they think there's no point. And again, as you said, based on what they see and what they've been fed, who can blame them? Or they're incredibly independent thinkers and they still have no desire. So,
well, and if you go stand in line at your local high school or or the local wherever you're supposed to go to vote, if you make it there, and most people don't even make it there.
right.
Like they don't understand if they're registered or not or what it means. One time I called the Knox County Election Commission, and it was answered by the nicest lady ever, and she was so eager to talk to me about my voter registration. And she asked me my address and assured me my card was still good, blah, blah, blah. Here's where you can go to vote. I mean, but nobody tells you this stuff. And again, not to take the blame and put it on anything in the media, like the show you were talking about or whatever. But I mean, that basically trains people to hate politics and then just stay home and play Xbox.
Yeah.
And that makes it really easy for people that don't do that to run the world. Mm-hmm. And if you go and line up, like I was going to say, if you go line up at the gym or wherever you go to vote, you'll be the youngest guy there.
Well, I think we don't need to kidnap the whole episode with politics. So, Glenn Jacobs, we're happy to have you anytime.
Right.
And
we need you to come on here and do more of what we're doing right now. You're the man.
yeah,
You're the
Casey.
man.
Talking about scary near future stuff. Cool segue here. Did you guys hear they were remaking Fahrenheit 451?
I did not.
The
Yeah, it's gonna,
Bradbury book, and they're making it into a movie. Well, I mean, it's already a movie. Fahrenheit 451 is already a movie. They're just
I hear they're going to make
remaking
it back into a book.
I thought you meant the part where they were going to run it by Congress real quick.
Zing!
Oh God!
There we go.
I'm sorry. I
gonna
fear
let him
that
stay?
sometimes.
Yeah, I'm
Anyway,
gonna stay.
You're going to let him stay for a little bit?
That was decent.
for real though, please. I didn't know they were making a new
talk
movie.
more about that because, man, I love Ray Bradbury.
Yes.
God amongst men.
Guy Montag, Michael B. Jordan,
Oh hell yes!
already
On board.
sold.
On board.
What is it? Beatty? I think this the quasi bad guy or the bad guy in the movie.
Yeah,
Michael Shannon.
Man.
I will find him.
I wonder if Henry Cavill is going to come out of nowhere and like break his neck, Superman style.
Oh, man.
But it's supposed to be coming out this year sometime. I believe it is. I think it's a made-for-TV movie. It might be going to theaters, or it might be going to Netflix. I think it might be going to Netflix.
Okay.
But nevertheless, it's one of my favorite books to read in school, and I'm just super excited to see it reimagined in a new movie because the movie that was made for it was old, decent but old.
Equilibrium is a good version of it with Christian Bale. It's not exactly the same thing, but the premise is very, very close.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. Our mutual friend Steve, back when he was becoming Batman, was telling me to watch that. He said, I went and watched this and this and this, and he's a very good actor, but just I don't see Batman in it. And I was like, well, why? And he's just watch Equilibrium. That's when I finally was like, you're going to be a good Batman. So not that that matters, but I went and watched Equilibrium, and it kicks ass.
Yeah.
So
That's Christian Bale.
yeah, Christian Bale.
Did you see The Machinist?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh man.
boy.
What was that? An apple and no, he didn't even do an apple, did he? It was whiskey and like
He literally starved
a single
himself
cigarette.
and poisoned himself.
yeah.
What a maniac.
And it didn't even.
There's a scene in the movie where he's like walking across the road and he gets hit by a car, and he's so skinny that you just hear the bones crackling against the car's fender. I mean, on the one hand, like I dug my fingernails into the seat cushion of the movie theater, and the other hand, I was like, A+ to that director for making sure that it was like a symphony of discomfort. You know?
Yeah.
Christian Bale's wonderful actor, and also Michael B. Jordan is becoming easily one of my favorite actors. Black Panther, Friday Night Lights, like he was the later seasons. Yeah, he was the quarterback in the later seasons when the coach moved
and he
to a
was
different
Creed
school.
too, right?
And he's Creed.
I thought that was good.
He is wonderful, and he also is like a really big anime fan. So it's really kind of neat to be on that level with him.
Western Akira, maybe. They're working on. Oh yes,
He-
please.
Okay, I can see that.
If he, God bless, Michael B. Jordan led Akira film, and if they got Jordan Peele to actually direct it, I mean he's not doing it now, but he seemed to have some interest. Maybe he can circle back to it.
Yeah.
It would be nice.
That would be great.
Especially after Get Out. Like,
I still haven't seen it.
how have you not seen?
Oh, really?
I know.
Oh, it's a treat.
It's back in theaters, so that's also on my list. Yeah. It's AMC showing it because of the Oscar nom.
Oh, okay, nice.
So I have my chance again.
It's definitely worth it.
The only reason
Definitely worth a
is
watch.
money and timing. So, I mean, it's always been on my list. I desperately wanted to see it, but it just never lined up right.
And I've talked to some people that absolutely hated it, but
Really?
not many.
I've not seen
Not
anyone
many.
that hated it.
I was in the majority where I thought it was very clever.
After watching that movie, I was like, that felt like a Twilight episode, Twilight Zone episode. I was super into it, and then I found out that he's going and starting.
I don't know if I would say. I don't think it was that clever. Twilight Zone's very important to me, and I'm going to be shitty about it.
Well, then you better, Michael. I mean,
I'm leaning in
Michael
right
B. Jordan.
now. And,
Jordan Peele is bringing back the Twilight Zone.
what?
Yes, and I know you guys are going to hate this. because
Officially, or is it Twilight Zone-esque? I know what you're talking
No,
about,
it's-
but is it actually Twilight Zone?
From my understanding, he's bringing back the Twilight Zone to
Oh,
TV.
he's in over his head.
I heard it
No,
was
he's
Twilight
not.
Zone-esque.
No, he's not.
He's in over his head.
No, he is not.
There's no way.
Now, I know this one's going to really make you guys mad because I know how much you love this director, but M. Night Shyamalan
I love M. Night Shyamalan.
is bringing back Tales from the Crypt.
Don't.
What?
I think he's already. I think it's already happened.
Oh, well, great. I'll give anything a chance. Like, that was very
Have you
closed-minded of me, but please don't also.
Have you ever watched Wayward Pines on Hulu?
Wayward Pines. That sounds so familiar.
It's
Oh, son of a bitch. I
he
didn't
did
finish
that.
it. I didn't finish it.
That was him. And also, I will say, The Happening and The Last Airbender.
Come on, guys. It's science.
Those were rough. However, his newer movies like The Visit and Split, he's making a comeback.
Oh, yes.
And a lot of people are gonna.
Oh,
my God.
wait. Did you not like Split?
No, I'm just taking the piss out of Casey.
Oh, okay. We're going to have to
Look,
turn the
look.
recording off so you didn't hear his beat, Spencer.
No, look, we can get the guy. Whether no matter what I think about him or what I mean, he's a visionary director. He's had his ups and downs, just like everybody has.
Steven Spielberg
crapping on-
made War Horse.
I just don't know if he's the guy to do Tales from the Crypt. Maybe who was the guy that directed the Evil Dead remake? Who did that? Because that guy, in my book, could
That'd be
do Tales
great.
from the Crypt
Yeah,
all
yeah.
day.
That guy needs to
He
keep
also
doing
did. He
Evil
did Don't
Dead-like
Breathe.
stuff.
He did Don't Breathe.
Yeah, the Evil Dead director.
Yeah, that was his follow up. Did you watch Don't Breathe? Did you see that?
I didn't see it, but I heard it was incredible.
Oh, dude.
Heard it was a big deal. I'll check it out.
Oh yeah. It
And
might.
look, man, look. Jordan Peele did such a good job with Get Out, and I know that he's. I am fully aware of his talents. I just don't. There's a lot of talented guys, and none of them are Rod Serling. And I don't think that's one that I think they should have left that one where, because I think it's perfect. Mm-hmm. I don't think you could. I think by bringing it back, I don't think you can contribute anything.
I
to
don't
it.
think they're making remakes of the old episodes.
That's what I'm saying. But by adding more episodes to that catalog, I think you could only weaken the catalog.
After
I think
watching-
it's that strong. Like when some band you like probably should have quit 20 years ago, and they're still kind of trudging along. And I get it, and blah blah blah. But it just every time they add another turd to the fireplace,
Yeah.
the fire gets a little bit closer to going out.
I don't know. For me, this day and age Twilight Zone is Black Mirror, which is a phenomenal show.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care.
Totally. First episode of the new season blew me away. I mean, I
The
was
Star Trek one?
Oh man,
Yeah.
I'm a big fan.
Now, I
of
will
that.
say, if you've not watched Black Mirror, or if you watch just the first episode of the first season, don't let that be why you do and don't watch it, because that episode is probably the worst
Everybody
out
does-
of the whole series.
Anytime you try to go, hey, have you seen Black Mirror? They go, oh, I saw that first episode. I turned the
Okay,
TV off.
I watched the first episode immediately after the Star Trek one. Why do people not like it?
The first episode of the first season,
Yeah.
the one where the prime minister has to sleep with a pig,
Yeah.
and they just thought it was a very
You're
bizarre.
being very casual about this. I was like, I don't see anything wrong with it. The
Why?
pig seemed to be enjoying itself.
Yeah, I don't understand.
I think that people just don't like looking into the Black Mirror. That shit is the most applicable thing I've seen out of that series thus far.
What do you mean by looking in the Black Mirror?
They don't want to look into that. The whole thing is a
You do know
twisted
that's not
reflection.
what the
No, I know, but
Okay.
but that episode itself is a super twisted reflection of where we are now.
Oh yeah, if
it's
something
not
like
even.
that happened, we would all sit there and watch the TV
Well,
and
that's
not
kind
go
of the
to
premise
work
of the
and-
whole show. Is like it's a black, it's a
Yeah.
very, very dark mirror towards society, and
Well,
But it's
right,
also
but
it's
just-
also a play on literally you turn a TV off, it's a black mirror. Your phone, if it's not powered on, is a black mirror.
Right.
Computer screen, black mirror.
But at the same time, like even the actual like messages they're giving are very near future, a lot of them, but they're still like slightly just ahead. That one, that totally felt like something that we would wake up and see on CNN the next day.
My 2 favorite episodes by far is White Rabbit, where the woman wakes up with amnesia and basically like everyone she comes across is just holding a camera up to her, filming her, and then some dude starts chasing her with a
I
shotgun.
don't think I've seen that one.
Oh, that one
one's
is
fantastic.
sick.
Is it which season?
I believe it's season 2. It's called White Rabbit.
I'll find it. I've seen several of them. I saw the one where like the 2 women were like in love, but
That's my all-time favorite episode.
I haven't seen that one, so
Junipero.
yeah, careful.
What's it called?
San Junipero.
That's it.
It is so well written. It's not creepy. It's just
touching.
so well written.
Don't spoil it.
And
I thought it
it's
was
just,
touching.
It will pull at your heartstrings until you
But
can't
there's still a
take
twist, just like all the Black Mirror episodes.
Yes.
No. And I totally think Black Mirror rocks on a level that is fantastic. You know,
I will say with the USS Callister one, that one, the end struck with me, and I'm going to go to a little spoiler alert territory. So if you haven't seen the episode yet, you might
You
want
have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 spoilers.
Okay, thanks, Hunter. But at the very end of that episode, where someone orders a pizza for him, like the chick does, to go like break into his place to steal that stuff, and he gets so frustrated, he puts his door up for do not disturb. No one's going to bother him. No one's going to knock on that door. No one's going to go in and check on him. He has a 10-day vacation because it's Christmas time, and then he gets stuck in this virtual reality world where these things that are plugged into his forehead literally will not pull him back out. There's no way for him to get out, and then they lock him in.
Whoa.
He is dead. At the end of that episode, he is dead. And it's only going to be a slow burn of him sitting in nothing but darkness as he starves to death on the outside world. And that's like, for me being a gamer who, first of all, I think VR is just a money grab, so I'll never get into that unless it gets to that scale, and then why not?
That's why not, but okay.
But yeah, after watching that episode, I was like, that's exactly why I won't do that.
Yeah.
The fact that even though he's locked in this virtual reality, he can't just pull those little things off, freaks me out.
100%. I'll tell you, I'll give a topic here to kind of change. Well, for starters, before we move away from virtual reality, am I crazy, or recently did a lot of the tech companies start investing a lot more in AR and moving away from VR? Is that accurate, or
Wait.
Microsoft
like
is
augmented reality?
Okay.
Microsoft is real heavy on the AR.
Yeah.
Everyone else I still think is on the VR.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, this year at E3, Sony, or since Microsoft is releasing AR, type stuff for their video games, I can see Sony trying to do something like that, but I
Right.
think they're making way too much money on their VR headsets
Got
to
it.
even worry about that.
What is augmented reality?
So it's basically like if I put augmented reality glasses on, I can see computer stuff like icons and click on stuff, but also see you in the same view. So I could literally put a filter on you with the glasses, like a Snapchat filter. And
Terminator
laugh.
vision?
Sort of.
Okay.
Or for a real basic explanation, like on Pokemon Go, when you had the camera turned on and you would catch them, but you would catch them on your living room table or
Right.
on the hood of your car or whatever.
Now, the scary thing about that is if that takes off, it becomes incredibly popular, you're going to see a lot more there's a video on YouTube where you can see the future of AR, where this person made this kind of GoPro-esque travel, going from point A to point B video with AR, and it was just nothing but trash ads and things popping up in their feed.
Oh, yeah.
But also they had a GPS. I keep saying
It'll be like everything else that'll get so polluted with crap and clickbait, and they'll find a way to screw it up. It's just this amazing new world that we've got. And you're like, hey, for 3 payments of $19.95.
I will say what I thought was interesting was the person had an arrow that was pointing them in the direction, almost kind of like a video game, of where they're going. They've put in an address, and it's pointing them in that direction. And if they make a left, it goes blink and kind of aims them in the direction they need to go.
Right.
I think that's kind of cool. But I also think it's going to get so flooded with ads and just weird, colorful lighting stuff. It's going to make people way too distracted. It's going to cause way more problems than it's going to fix.
There definitely seems to be danger there somewhere.
There is a graphic novel that came out in the last 2 or 3 years. It's only 10 issues long, collected, take you 2 hours to read front to back. Rick Remender and Sean Gordon Murphy, who is an incredibly talented artist and writer in his own right. He's doing one of the dopest, most sick Batman stories ever right now.
Right.
They did this thing. It takes place in Neo Tokyo, and it's it's definitely distant future, but not like Aliens or Star Trek distant. And it sounds just like what you were talking about a second ago. And it's solving the mystery of do you actually need it? Do you not? What do you lose if you don't have it? What do you lose if it's all you have? And that's the problem. The main two characters, who you find out in issue 1 absolutely adore each other, but can't connect anymore because one is one way and the other is the other way. And it's their story specifically. So it's a really smart love story in that regard, but it's commenting on, it's like a Black Mirror episode in a comic book almost. You two should look it up, and anybody listening hasn't read it also. It's cheap and it won't take long.
Interesting.
If you like that stuff, that kind of that distant future sci-fi kind of stuff, you really need to check out Altered Carbon on Netflix.
I've been hearing about it.
It is a wonderful, I will say it's fun but flawed is how I would describe it. There's plot holes. There's some stuff wrong with it, but it's a fun ride. And it's very much like Blade Runner-esque future kind of stuff. It's really interesting.
Libby and I were talking about watching it, and one of the two of us commented that it looked like the live-action Ghost in the Shell we should have gotten. Which, I mean, I'm not trying to open that up, but just looking at it,
I can never get into that series. It just never clicked.
Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah,
I'm not fully into it, but I love everything that it's about. So I have the first movie, and it's dense. That's God, if it's dense, but I think it's good. So
I'll tell you real quick as kind of a final topic here, because we're starting to go kind of long. But speaking of things like the distant future and Black Mirror and how our lives are affected by technology and that sort of, which is an obvious, massive discussion. But I heard something this week, and I'd like to bounce this off you guys and our listeners, whatever. I was listening to an interview with some people that I like, and they were talking about all of the self-esteem problems, and not just self-esteem, but maybe also just the addiction problems that social media and just the super connected version of technology that we have these days, how it's affecting people the same way that drugs affect people and a lot of different things. But let me break it down for you. They said basically for 10,000 years or so, however long you believe humans have been on Earth, we've been in tribes or groups of about 100 to 200 people. And that's how it's been up until the last 12 years of humanity, okay? Even once people started to get into big cities. But if you want to even take modern history out, let's say go back 100 years. People lived in small towns. They were around confined groups of people. And here was the thing. In these groups of people, they said everybody could be good at something. Maybe I want to be really good at building houses and barns, and it's just not my thing. Well, you get to be that thing. And then I'll go be good at running the drugstore or whatever like that. But everybody kind of has a little job, and they coexist very well. And because of people's propensity or just their desire to compare themselves to other people, if you're only around 100 or 200 people, nobody feels that bad. But now, if you feel like you're good at something and you go on Instagram or YouTube, you can actually see the best in the world. The prettiest girl, the best guitar player, the most handsome guy, the richest person, all of the extremes of society are 100% in our face all the time. And they say that it's absolutely disparaging to people that are trying to maintain a self-esteem or whatever, or for people that aren't threatened by it, they're addicted to it. Mm-hmm. What do you guys comment on that?
I can absolutely see that. And in fact, to the point where I think I've fallen victim to something like that kind of stuff.
Well, sure. I mean, if you ever been on the toilet and you're just scrolling through Instagram or whatever, a million miles an hour, boom, 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 and you just look at all these images.
The way you put it, Like if someone were to say, "Oh, do you feel like your self-esteem gets hit pretty hard when you look at social media?" I'd say no, but the way you put it just then, I was like, okay, yeah, I can see that.
It's like whatever you think you're good at, whatever you feel like you're natural. And they supposedly that's one of the secrets to like a healthy, I don't like just a general good mental health is to believe, to kind of recognize your talents and sort of exaggerate them or at least bank on those. Like everybody's got to figure out like what you think you're good at. Everybody listening to this, take a moment and figure out what you think you're good at, and just do that.
Well, I have a very specific example, which is my desire to write and draw comic books and graphic novels, which hasn't left me since like second or third grade, I guess.
It's not a phase.
You're also wonderful at it, by the way.
Thanks. But see, I recognized a long time ago, and it has helped a bit, but caveat being, obviously not everyone in the world has seen my stuff, but out of anyone that has, I seem to be the only person that thinks I'm the shittiest dude at it ever and that I have no business doing this. And I dance.
Actually, we haven't talked. I think that too.
Oh, well, I'm glad I'm not alone now.
I'm just kidding.
But I dance between both being completely inspired by the stuff that I see. Right now I'm on that kick, so I'm riding it for as much as I can. But then at some point, what's inspiring me also will just hit really hard. And, there's been other outside things making that take longer this past bit. So hopefully this will stay in a positive light. But a lot of the times I found myself, going to bed inspired and having done some work. I'm like, that's good. And then I wake up and I look at it and I'm like, that's still good. And I go and like dip into whatever artist I'm running on a kick with or whatever, or a YouTube series from said artist. And all of a sudden I see them do just one other thing. And I look at my thing I was proud of and I go, that's shit. Like they're already out there. They're established. They're making a living. You don't have to be rich, but they're supporting their family. And here you are about to get married and you can barely afford to just live on your own versus pay bills, and you're trying to draw funny books. Like, what are you?
And you're victimized there by the contrast.
Yeah.
You see this thing, it was okay until you saw this variable, and then it just throws you off your guard. At the end of all that, it's like, what? Because you're thinking, like, well, what chance do we have? If the internet's this big and powerful and social media is all-encompassing, we're screwed. We're never going to know what to think. We're never going to think about ourselves. It's always going to look dismal. And she's like, you can still be a good person. You can still go do good things, and you can build your self-esteem based on that. I don't know how this got so serious. Jesus, I'm sorry.
You took it down a weird hole there.
There's a really important hole. We went down the important hole. Let that be a lesson, kids. Go down the right hole. See, I brought it back.
You don't, really, and not
brought
kids,
it right back.
No.
That's okay.
Kids, go down the right hole.
Is that how we're going to end it?
Let's not. No, let's not. We can push another 30 seconds. That is not where we're ending this episode.
Well, you just said to not talk about the hole, and then you said we're going to push another 30. I feel like I'm getting mixed messages from Casey. What do you think?
Honestly, I feel like social media is poison, but it's a poison that I like and can't get away from.
I mean, we're using it to move this podcast.
See? And it's...
Kids, beware the dangers of social media, but please share this episode.
It even comes with video game and video game addiction. It's something that people struggle with. It's something that I struggle with. But I think here recently with, this podcast and other projects that, I want to work on, I've kind of moved away. Because it used to be, I used to spend every paycheck, I would have to buy a game or buy something for a game or buy something game related.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's gotten to the point where maybe once every 3 months, I'm like, oh, this is on sale. I'll pick it up. I enjoyed playing that.
Well, I'll say this. I think it's definitely cool that you're now creating something. But I will say, if somebody just decides to sit at home and play video games, that's still a lot better than being like a freaking criminal or like being like a severe drug addict that's like, becoming like a vampire to all their friends or something like that. I mean, sometimes people do their thing.
And with video games nowadays, you can hang out with multiple of your friends via video games.
Sure.
So, I mean, back in the day, video game addiction with like old school Nintendos, things like that, where it didn't have internet connection, I can see where that was probably more of a problem gaming addiction-wise than it is today.
Because it's actually social these days.
It's very social, but it's also very almost like gambling. It rewards you. It rewards you and gives you those endorphins that make you feel good.
Yeah.
And that's the problem is people get too attached to that and they get the more they get attached to that feeling, the more detached they get towards actual society.
Yeah.
And that's where the problem comes in.
Maybe we can kind of agree that with all of the new technological things,
It's scary.
It's scary, and it's a whole new thing. And like Joe Rogan talks about that a lot. He'll go, "This is the weirdest world. Like this is brand new. All this stuff, like being this interconnected, this rapidly, is brand new." And it's just the amount of information we take in. But I think maybe we could agree that like we're faced with a lot of new challenges and a lot of things we haven't seen before, but it's kind of how you deal with it. Like if you're into the games, be into the games, but know when to turn it off and actually like go interact with the real world so you don't get weird or blah, blah, blah. Use it for what it's for or that kind of thing, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can agree with that.
All right. Well, guys, listen, thank you so much for listening again. Once again, we appreciate all of your comments. We appreciate all of your feedback. Please hit us up. Casey's going to take you through some of the contacts and social media and our email address and everything here in a minute. But just want to sign off saying thanks for listening, you guys. Hey, if anybody knows how to get a hold of Glenn Jacobs, tell him we want him on this podcast. Send him an email. Send him, hit him up on social media, and let him know we want to talk to him. Anybody else that you'd like to see on our podcast too, push him in our direction. I'm going to go ahead and sign off. My name is Spencer McCoy.
I'm Hunter Barnhart.
I'm Casey. And you can find us at Twitter at Beacon House Knox, Instagram at Beacon House Knox, and that's KNOX. And our Gmail is beaconhouseknox@gmail.com. Please send us some emails. We want some questions. I don't know about but I want to do a whole episode dedicated on the questions you guys send to us.
Oh, yeah.
And I think you guys are going to send us some crazy stuff, and we can have a lot of fun with it. And I just want to say I really love you guys. Thank you.
He does.
Oh, my.